Good morning, guys. How you guys doing? Jensen Huang reverses quantum strategy, bets billions on next computing era. Jensen Huang reverses quantum strategy, bets. Is now pouring money into quantum startups. Yeah, I don't know that there's a lot I can do. There's not a lot I can do this morning before FOMC. I kind of just have to be patient, and then sit in my positions, and then wait for the quarter point cut, and then just see how my positions act. So. Yeah, you got a little bit of a gap down this morning in a Palantir. I don't think it's, that big a deal. But, yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I own it from a little bit lower, so we'll see if, these things can. I don't mind gap downs because that allows my stock to then break through my pivot and manage risk a whole lot better. Yeah, Meta was nice 2 days ago. I thought Meta was really nice on, what was it, Monday? Tuesday? Monday. Yeah, but this is one of the things I don't ever like to find myself doing is owning laggards, right? Like this thing isn't even above the 200 yet. Look at what Baidu did when it got over the 200, right? Started to just build higher lows, and then all of a sudden broke a flat pivot, and then off to the races, and now gapping up 135. So, it's like I don't care to own a laggard. My goal was to get myself into BABA, and I couldn't do that. I thought it was just a little choppy. Right in here, it's just a little too choppy for me. I couldn't find a clean spot before earnings. And then here was the next best spot, which was like I'm on a Friday 2 weeks ago. So, but I am sitting in PDD. And again, the key is you just want to be in things that are above their 200. Right? Don't own a laggard. Yep. Agreed. There's nothing I can do until FOMC. Just kind of manage the names I already own. Was kind of bummed out with the action in CCJ yesterday. That sucked. I trimmed some Oklo, but I got a little greedy with CCJ because it was a smaller position, and I paid for it. Yeah, I know. Here's the thing. I'm pretty sure every one of us or every trader knows that there's going to be a quarter point cut. I think, if we're going to get what's expected, everybody's kind of saying it's a sell the news event on something we all know is coming. So, look, what do we do there, right? We all know there's a quarter point coming. Does that really become a sell the news event if everybody knows that thing is coming and the consensus seems to be it'll be the sell the news event? I'm not really sure. I don't know what's going to happen. What I know for sure right now, and until evidence changes, is that the market is in a powerful uptrend. That's what I know for sure. Whether it's quantum stocks, whether it's semiconductors, whether it's banking names, there is just, Ethereum, some mega caps, the ARK ETF. There's just some crude oil names are starting to turn up. There's just powerful uptrends everywhere. What do I think of FSLR? I saw it perking up yesterday. I saw Sedge looking a little bit better off of the 50-day. Yeah, past 2 days for Seg, pretty nice. Yeah, I think solars are fine. I don't know how rate sensitive they're going to be today, but maybe solars, home builders, biotechs, if we get that quarter point cut, these things can get moving. Yeah, China stocks. I just talked about JD. I don't personally like it. It's still living below the 200. Meanwhile, you have BABA and you have PDD and you have a name like TME and you have a name like Futu and you have a name like Baidu and you have a name like Billy. So it's like, why? And then you look at Tiger and you're just like, ugh, like look at this price action, just god awful. You look at JD and you're like, okay, this thing's not even above the FN 200 yet. Don't get yourself into laggards. Just wait on the leaders to tighten up. Like if you had to say to yourself, okay, these are the China stocks, which ones are acting best? JD, like where the hell does it fit on the list living below the 200? And you're naturally thinking, oh, I like JD. It's going to catch up to BABA. Like when will it catch up to BABA? And the only reason it would ever catch up to BABA is if BABA is still acting really well. So like your job is to get yourself into the leaders, not the laggards. Because what happens if BABA starts to pull back and dump a little bit, right? And pull back, I don't know, 5, 6, 8%. What do you think they're going to do to JD? Don't get yourself into laggards, dude. Trust me, it's the surest way to end up with fat headaches. Hood, not bad. Yeah, I thought yesterday this thing was, pretty interesting. I don't know, right? I think it personally needs a little bit more digestion here. I mean, could this have been a small little bull flag and we're off to the races today? Yeah, I think it's possible. But we'll see. Nothing I say before FOMC matters because I can't take any positions before then. You know why there's an activist investor in a stock usually? Because they're underperforming. In other words, it's at $240 and still below the 200 simple moving average. Who cares if there's an activist investor until it can get above its 200? And also look at this price action. Like outside of like one squirt higher, this thing has had really crummy price action. I don't want to own anything like this. Moves 2.5% per day, so it's kind of slow. It's living below the 200 simple moving average still. Ron, you're in the room. You've heard me say stuff like this before. You shouldn't even be looking at stuff below the 200 simple moving average. I do. I pay attention to fundamentals. They don't always matter, especially if they're in a super hot theme, right? I think about theme more than I think about fundamentals. But if you really want to swing trade something and you want to sit in something with the least amount of headache, then you realize that earnings and sales are typically accelerating or they've got some new product that will eventually lead to earnings and sales growth. But the stocks that make the cleanest moves with the least amount of headache have accelerating earnings and sales. Yeah. Post FOMC, yeah, there's names like Pulte, I think could look pretty good. If, we tried to undercut the 20 yesterday, we kind of started to reclaim. This thing's just been building steady higher lows into the 20 over and over and over and over. I think Pulte looks pretty good. Toll looks the same effectively. Green Brick, KB Homes. Again, some of these Lennar, some of these will look a little bit better. I personally prefer Pulte or Builder's also a good one. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't mind it. I think sometimes the easier way to play a group like this, especially a group that, if you kind of go through the list of the names, they all move kind of slow. If you could find yourself in nail, even better. I don't think we are all hoping for a half point cut. I don't think anybody is expecting a half point cut. I mean, the betting markets have it at a quarter point. The SOFR market has it at a quarter point. I mean, everything's pointing to a quarter point. So I don't know why we would get anything. What would cause more volatility is if we got a half a point cut, in my opinion, because it's not the expected. MP is kind of annoying, but I'm still sitting there. Thoughts on MBIS? We'll see. It looks like it's kind of turning up this morning. Don't know if it had news or not, but no. 0.25 may be a little too late for the economy. I mean, the economy seems to be doing fine. Didn't Amazon just have their Prime Day, or whatever it was, their Prime Week or whatever? And it was like they've never done more in sales during their Prime Week. Yeah, Futu was definitely a first mover. This is one of those where I'm kind of kicking myself, man. I should have bought this thing down here just outside of this little bull flag, and I didn't. And then the next day, it's like subtle gap up, and you're like, oh, am I going to chase this? And of course, I didn't. And there you go. That's what I get for not getting myself involved. But yeah, first pullback towards the 50-day, I'll definitely be watching this thing turn back up. But even today, it's gapping up. I'm sitting in PDD, so at least I feel not so much FOMO. But am I still in PDD? Yeah. Why would I have gotten out? Yeah. There's no reason to get out. I bought this thing, because it held the 20, and then it's just been doing nothing wrong. Right? There's no reason to exit positions that are doing nothing wrong. One of the things that I always talk about kind of in the room is if you've got extra money in your portfolio, your job isn't to micromanage positions you're already in and they're respecting your stop. Your job is to figure out how the hell to get the rest of your money at work, right? Not to micromanage what you already own, especially if it's not doing anything wrong. Sure, it might not be moving like other stuff. It might not be flying like Tesla or working well like Oklo, making a new 52-week high like ARK, right? But that's irrelevant, right? If you have money in your portfolio, your job is not to micromanage your open positions, especially if they're not hitting your stop. I think AMD is fine. I don't know why NVIDIA is gapping down on the news, but I think it's fine. What AMD is going to have to take out 163.5 for me, right? It's going to have to reclaim the 50-day, and it's going to have to take out 9/10s high. If it can do that, then I'd like to get in it. TSM, this one kind of hurts. I like this thing at 202, and it's done nothing wrong since. Yeah, it looks fine. Bit of a gap down there too for some reason. Not exactly sure what's going on with a few of these semis, but like I said, it doesn't matter what I say until after we get the FOMC reaction, right? What happens before then, you really shouldn't chase any stocks. You should already be in stuff. You should just be focused on what you own to manage. No, dude, here's the thing. I like KTOS, and I mentioned it a few days ago out of this little bull flag. Last week was when I kind of wanted to get involved in it, but I just didn't take it, unfortunately. Such a nice move. And aerospace and defense names are acting well. Why is NVIDIA lagging? I don't think NVIDIA is actually lagging. You know, you look at this really big move up. This company added $2 trillion. It could use more sideways. I mean, yes, you're gapping below the 50-day today, you know, just a little bit. So it is probably good to kind of notice that, you know, normally living under the 50-day is not a good sign. Um, but look at this massive move, man. This name doubled. It's earned the right to do nothing for a few months. Yes, it's lagging a little bit right now, but this is what stocks do. They go up and they go sideways. It's like, you know, in here, after it just made a huge move up, everybody's like, well, why is NVIDIA lagging? I thought this was the greatest thing to ever happen because I ended up making one of my biggest trades coming out of this big, huge base breakout. So, you know, digestion is good. Sideways is really healthy. It's what you want out of your stocks. They go up, they go sideways. They go up, they go sideways. There's no plans to open up anything prior to the meeting. There's nothing that I need to own, right? That's the key. There's nothing that I need to own. Tilray Weekly, the wheat stock, nah. I would like to see more evidence that these names are going to go in some kind of stage 2 uptrend. And then really, I wouldn't play any one of these individual names. And part of the reason for that is they can do an offering at any point, right? And so I would rather own the ETF MSOS. It moves plenty fast, dude. MSOS moves almost 10% per day. Yeah, I may trim some stuff. I just don't know what, right? Like my CCL is hanging out above the 50 and I've owned this thing for months. ARC's at a new 52-week high. You know, PDD's gapping up overnight. Tesla's acting totally fine. You know, Oklo, I already trimmed a third off into this push. Palantir might be the thing that I cut. We'll see. Because I'm only up about $1 on it now. So, and then MP, I don't love the action, but this is you know, I'm using the 50 simple moving average. What just happened to Uber there? Lyft and Waymo launching partnership to expand autonomous mobility to Nashville. There it is.
On UBER, Uber is in a buy downtick, caught Lyft, and Waymo launched a partnership to expand automotive mobility to Nashville.
Why do I use SMAs instead of EMAs? So SMAs, if you're looking at a 20-day SMA, it takes the weight of all the candles equally. EMAs takes the weight of the most recent candles, or it takes more weight into the recent candles. But I like equal weighting across my candles. So simple moving average for my daily charts, and then everything sub 1 day, I look at EMAs. So SMAs on the left-hand side, EMAs on the right-hand side. And it's just how I've gotten used to it. Far too thin. Too thin. I mean, it could work for you, but dude, there are so many themes to focus on right now. I mean, probably, there's the gold theme, right? There's the data center theme, right? With names like Hut, Iron, Cypher, etc. I mean, BitF even started to rocket recently, which tells you how strong of a theme that is. Obviously, MBIS is in that data center theme. You've got the China theme. You've got mega caps, obviously, is their own theme. There's theme. There's home builder theme. I mean, there's the solar theme. I mean, everywhere you look, there's a theme. There's the quantum theme. You just keep looking, and you'll find more themes and like stocks bundled together that are, which just kind of goes to show you how strong of a market we are actually in. Right, we're in a very, very powerful market where so many stocks are going up that there's like 4 or 5 stocks in every single group, and if that becomes a theme, right? Where buying begets buying. There's even like the oil and gas refiners going up. It's hard to find stock going down. The only theme that I see that's like literally not doing anything or going down are the food stocks. What do I think of VG? It's just totally random. Venture Global. First of all, this doesn't even look all that good, right? You want a stock to have made a move up and then consolidated. This is below the 50. It's just kind of some random old name. Like, think about it like this. If you only had space in your portfolio for 8 to 10 names, where does VG rank on the list of priorities for you to go and buy? Like, where does it rank on the list of names I have to own? I'll tell you. Number 8,404. Okay, that's where I would put VG. There's so many other stocks, real leaders, liquid leaders in this market. Milo, focus on those, brother. Trust me. Trust me. You'll appreciate those words in time. Don't own a random stock. This is totally random. Like, even after earnings, this thing has done jack shit. Okay, and that's me being nice. It hasn't died, but it hasn't done anything either. Right? Will it eventually go to 25, 30, 40, 50? Maybe. I have no clue. But where's the momentum here? It had nice momentum here for just a little bit. Then all of a sudden it pulled back and gave back a huge chunk of those gains from about 20, lost almost about 50%, and then not really doing anything. Doesn't really have a clean technical setup. You know, it's not the most highly liquid. It's not even super fast. Let me figure out what group this is in. Yeah, oil and gas midstream. Okay, so it's in a group of stocks that are just starting to come around. My suggestion is focus on the ones that are already above an established 200. This thing hasn't even traded above the 200. And then let me take it one step further and look at this company's earnings and sales. Okay, there is one positive. I will say they've got accelerating sales. That's a positive. That's about it. So you kind of got to dig a little deeper, but you know, the group isn't the strongest group in the market. It's just starting to turn around, but there are names that are acting a whole lot better. Like, this thing is still below a declining 50. Meanwhile, you know, you've had a name, and still very slow, but a name like Dino that's now going up, going sideways, going up, going sideways, going up, going sideways, going up, going like acting a whole lot better already. So then the question becomes, okay, is VG better than any of the other names in the group? And there are names in the group that are acting a whole lot better than what VG was doing. AEVA. Oh man, this is disgusting. What a horrible move, man. This thing round tripped the whole thing. There's AEVA, there's TSSI, both hot trash. You know which one didn't die? Oster. There's your leader for these like up and coming young names that like made big moves from May. Thoughts on QVCGA? I don't know that I want to look up that OTC ticker. I typically don't trade tickers with 5 letters. No, dude. This thing trades $2 million a day. $2 million a day. Like, hello, is anybody in there? Who's trading this POS? Hello? Anybody hanging out in here? Is this the cool kids club? 2 million shares, or not even $2 million volume per day. 285,000 shares. What the hell is somebody supposed to do with that? Here's another one. $5 million per day. Those are my thoughts. Leave it alone. For anybody who's been here for several weeks on my pre-market preps, everybody else, you guys are excused if you're new. But if you're old and you've been here for a few weeks, not if you're old, but if you've been here for a few weeks, You guys know what I think about stocks that are super illiquid. Don't trade stocks that are illiquid. It just takes one asshole to come in and dump these shares, and all of a sudden this thing's having a 30% down day. Yeah, AFRM was actually on last night's watch list video. Yeah, this doesn't look too bad. And look at that, it almost trades $1 billion a day, right? Don't focus on stocks that are so thin it only takes one person to destroy the stock. Yeah, I have a set rule. So like I didn't rebuy AOI because of what we've got going on today, right? We've got FOMC today, and I just didn't want to deal with the chop of rebuying it and then maybe getting stopped out again, right? I would just rather be patient. If my names aren't going to act fantastic, then I was just going to kick them to the curb and manage what I own. I still have plenty, right? I still have ARK, I still have CCL, still got PDD, Tesla, CCJ, MP, Palantir, and Oklo. So I still got plenty of exposure open. I didn't want to rebuy back something that was acting poor. Yes. So besides looking at an industry rank, do I also look at their technicals? So yeah, I want to already be in an established stage 2 uptrend, or like Billy, I want to know that we're coming out of stage 1, which is, or sorry, Baidu, we're coming out of this big stage 1. So it's like you've been digesting for a long while, and then all of a sudden, you start to uptick into stage 2, and you got a nice little press on volume here. And then, you're now more in the start of a stage 2, right? Now, all of a sudden you make a move like this and we are for sure in stage 2. Now you just be having to wait for some kind of consolidation. But yeah, industry rank and technicals. So like first I want to see a setup that I can get myself involved in, that I understand, but I want to do that in particular in leading groups, right? So if there's like 190 groups, I want to be focused on the top 40 or 50. Serve ready to go. This is a robotics name, if I'm not mistaken. This is just doing a whole bunch of nothing and has been doing a whole bunch of nothing since May, right? I've got a bit of a problem with that, right? The market has been ripping for the better part of 4 months, and this is what this thing has been doing during that time, right? Meanwhile, here's another robotics name, SYM, and look at what this was doing since May, right? From May, this thing only decided to go up, 100 and some odd percent, almost 200%, right? 170% from May. So while SERV was going sideways, SYM was going vertical, right? Much more interest in a name like this. Look at the volume that was coming in here. And then now it's just digesting again, similar to Serve, but which one would you rather own? Right? I can't answer that for you. You have to make that decision for yourself. But, I think your eyeball should be, should be pretty easy to deduce which one's acting a whole lot better. Home builders look choppy, but you have to buy them properly, right? When you look at like the XHB, right? This thing just continues to build higher lows. So the pullbacks to ascending moving averages seem to be the spot for these names, right? Don't chase the breakouts. Economy is great. Look at Walmart chart. Oh, WMT. Whoops. Yeah, I mean Walmart looks pretty dang good. Maybe Costco not so much, but and then Delta Airline, UAL, gambling names. It depends. Normally if you're looking at the right pivot, you tend to get really nice explosive volume through that pivot if you're looking at the right pivot. But it doesn't always have to be like when you buy doesn't need to be accompanied with massive volume. Sometimes that volume shows up at the end of the day, right? It's just like the only thing that matters to me personally is the group that I'm buying in an uptrend? Is my stock in an uptrend? Is the market pressing well? Is the stock that I'm buying breaking a prior day high maybe? And do I have a defined level? This is the most important part, where I can manage risk. Do I have a defined level where I can manage risk? If the answer is yes, then I don't really need some quote unquote massive volume coming into my stock the moment that I buy it. When evaluating sector performance, I like 3-month relative strength. That's probably my favorite time frame to evaluate sector performance. There's a video I made. I shared it on X. I also shared it on my YouTube. You might just kind of have to go and find it through my playlists. But I talked a little bit about scanning for relative strength. And you'll notice that I talked about gold names. And I made this video over 3 months ago. And look at what gold names are doing today. Look at what silver names are doing today, right? It's like you can find groups that are acting well, that are already acting well, and you haven't missed the trade at all, right? Trends can persist a whole lot longer than you think, right? And again, they go up and then they go sideways. That sideways, I've said it before, is kind of like a train pulling into the station. That's like what allows you to hop aboard. Yeah, that happens with food too. Feels like need a pullback in China, you don't know. That's the thing none of us know. None of us know. I'm more cash than I should be. I'm about 50% cash. Maybe it's the right move. Maybe it's not. I have no idea, but it's all I've been able to get myself into. I was more, but I recently got kicked out of ETHU, XXRP, and yesterday AOI. Now they were all 3 of them were, not full size positions. So in a way, I'm kind of glad that I got kicked out of it. And then I also got kicked out of half of my CCJ yesterday. So ended up in even more cash. This hasn't happened in years. Could I share a trade experience where I was sold out of fear by breaking your own rules? Actually, I take that back, and I could talk about it. It happened to me in Soxel at 13. Is that right? Yes. So I bought it on this day out of this little flat pivot here, and I was using that day's low, which it never hit. And then I sold it because I had no cushion going into day end. And then that's what it ended up doing. Nothing wrong. I also did the same thing with Amazon, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, right here. I bought Amazon right here when it was kind of taking out this pivot. Really, I was looking at that big update for 4.9. And as soon as we were taking it out, but the next day we just didn't go anywhere. And then we were going into the weekend, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty positive we were going to the weekend. And then we got the gap up, and I was like, son of a. So, yeah, it does even happen to me. And then now all of a sudden, that ends up being, I bought this thing at the bottom. But, yeah, it happens. And it wasn't necessarily out of fear. It was just I've got no cushion. That's what it really was. PDD was a massive gap up. We are breaking my key level too, but there will be I'm not going to be adding to this massive gap up. BE looking climactic. I don't know. It's just, if we were to get like another gap up overnight, which we didn't really get in some big way, like if we had gapped up to 76 and then pushed to, 80 today and then gapped up again and then pushed to like 85, like then, yeah, maybe, but Yeah, energy names are setting up. Yeah, I like TME. Unfortunately, it's gapping up as well from where I wanted it. I wanted 2570s, but no, I scan for relative strength first, right? So I just say to myself, like, when I'm going through my scans, what has a nice technical setup on my 3 month relative strength scan. Then I mentally, because I've seen a lot of these stocks before, and if I don't know a name, I just quickly slap it in on FinViz and figure out what it is. But I just try to figure out like what the commonality is between the stock. Like I like thinking through that part of the puzzle, right? That's the fun part for me, like looking through charts maybe that I haven't seen, and then finding the common theme mentally. And if I don't know it, I just go on FinViz, try to figure out the name, and then I'll say like, oh wow, another aerospace and defense name, and oh wow, another one, right? Like before this year, I really didn't know KTOS too well. I really didn't know MRCY all that well. I didn't really know DRS. So like I didn't know these names, and all of a sudden, like when they're all looking pretty decent together, I find out that they're aerospace and defense names, and I was like, man, there's a bunch of these things acting well, right? Add Rocket Lab, add ASTS, like a bunch of these names are acting well together. So that when they were showing up on my relative strength scan, that's when I was just like, aerospace and defense is like one of the best groups out here. So yeah, that's just my thinking. At NBIS, I didn't know that. I thought I needed it to digest a little bit more, but who knows? There won't really be a lot of adding for me. One, in pre-market, and two, before the FOMC meeting. I think it's just a time for me to relax, do nothing, manage my open positions, and then take it one day at a time. Figure out what we're going to do for FOMC this afternoon, and then figure out what the reaction's looking like for tomorrow, and that's it. I don't normally trail the 5-day, typically, unless it's a very fast moving stock, but almost never. Yeah, KTOS was literally perfect, but I had opened up multiple names that day, so I was just kind of, leaving it alone. For me, there's no considering names prior to FOMC. And again, for AMD, we need to take out that, that pullback candle, which is, whoops, AMD, 9/10s high, right? It might be your favorite chart, but we're underneath the 50-day, and now we're gapping down some. So, yeah, there's that. Man, CLS hurts to even look at. I had this thing at $100. I just sold it like such shit. Almost don't like looking at it. No, it doesn't look like Nvidia's got, guys, Nvidia has earned the right to do nothing. They're up a ton. I don't understand why sideways is so bad. Like just because it's doing nothing right now doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with it. Like the slight negative is that it's below the 50-day. Right? That's the slight negative. Yeah, you could look at these red bars and think that it's distribution. I get it. I even slightly agree. But this thing is such a big move up that if this thing did nothing for the next 4 months, it wouldn't surprise me, right? But the market still seems to be acting well. Other names are taking its place with the ability to push higher, and themes are still alive and well, and stocks are still hanging out well despite NVIDIA doing nothing. And the market's continuing to make new all-time highs. There's no setup on BABA. I mean, you're asking me a question I feel like you should know the answer to. This thing's now gapping up to 166, and you're asking me if you can still get in. Like, where exactly is the setup to buy it? Like, isn't this the kind of move you want to catch? but you want to come up and buy it at a gap up. I feel like you should know that answer already. And I'm not trying to be mean or anything like that. If you don't know that answer, then I would just tell you, you have a lot more studying to do, brother. Please size your positions down, because if you think that chasing something at $166 when just 2 weeks ago it was at 120 is still buyable without some digestion, you're not going to like the results if you're trading big size. So slow yourself down, wait for this thing to consolidate, wait for it to pull back against an ascending moving average, wait to build you at least a 3-week base, something like that. If you're not already in, you can't be chasing this up here, dude. This is super extended from the 50. It's like 35% from the 50, and this thing moves less than 3% per day, right? It's more than 10 times its average true range from the 50. It's way too extended. No, fundamentals just give me conviction to hold, right? And I know that institutions also look at them. So if the stock has good fundamentals, right, they're looking at that and they're building positions into stocks with good fundamentals. You should have a list of ETFs already. Okay, what the hell is going on with this crappy stuff? I'm not going to answer that QVCGA again. It trades $2 million a day, guys. I mean, let's just be real. What happened? Oh. Do you move up your initial stop ever? Yeah, of course I do. But typically after 2 to 3 days. Right? And I usually move it to at least break even. Yeah, I'll go over this sometime. I'll share my screen on FinViz, and then we can kind of go over how I'll look at, stocks with relative strength and how, we can locate stocks that have been showing momentum. I've already made a video on this, so, I would kind of go through it, but I'm happy to do it for everybody in here who hasn't seen the video. It's nothing to do with the percentage. It has everything to do with how quickly the stock moves and how extended it is from the 50 on an ATR basis. Yeah, I mean, a little bit, but I wouldn't look at the indices. I would focus on the leaders, right? How are they acting? How's like a Hood acting? How's Palantir acting? How's an NBIS acting? How's Futu acting? How's, and the list goes on and on. How's CRDO acting? How's A-Lab acting? How's Meta acting? How's Tesla acting? How's Apple doing? I mean, there's literally so many stocks going up right now that until you start to see like failed breakouts, I wouldn't think about the indices too much. The market can pull back a little bit, but that would be super good for a name like STX and WDC and SNDK and, a handful of others, right? A lot of stocks need new bases. AVAV also, guess what? Aerospace and defense. Man, this sector is on fire. Yeah, not bad. It was, maybe buyable yesterday, but I don't know. I wasn't quick enough to pick up this name. We'll find like Iron, Hut, Cypher acting amazing. This is a little extended though from the 50. So that's why I haven't bought it. And what's extended can stay extended. I just won't chase it. When they digest a little bit further, sideways is good. TME looks good as well. Just you'd be chasing a bit of a gap up today. One, I don't think I'll be chasing a gap up. I'll just be holding on to my PDD. Yeah, Uber selling off pretty hard in pre-market. Yeah. Circle had news yesterday that Google's setting up some payment for stable coins or something. BMNR thoughts. I'd rather own ETHU and not get caught in Tom Lee diluting you. Guys, I apologize. I didn't get to all the questions. I got to get my butt rolling. Hopefully you guys trade them well today. Please be patient for FOMC. There's no reason to get too aggressive in front of that, right? Manage what you already own, and then take it after the reaction, and look if the market decides it's going to sell off a little bit before before FOMC. Track the names that are showing the best relative strength, and then those are maybe the names that you can buy after FOMC. So anyway, trade them well today, guys. I will see you guys tomorrow. Please enjoy your guys' day, and I will see you guys in 23 hours.